Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RELS 3375 Christianity and Ethics for fall of 2020. What I wanted to do is start our time together and talking about what you can see on the syllabus. Pretty much it's self-explanatory, but I'll go over some specific details about it as you're looking on Blackboard, the syllabus page. Give some explanation about that, and then I'm going to follow up with a little bit about the introduction to the course and what is basically the argument to the course. This class is all conducted on Blackboard. So everything you need is on Blackboard, whether it's going to be assignments, ways to communicate with me using the Blackboard messaging platform, or videos, or turning in your assignments or anything like that. So everything happens online. There's no in-class, in-face interaction, which is regrettable because I do believe that our most formidable educational experiences are personality exchange. But we try to duplicate that and try to bridge that gap here as much as we can. But since it's all online, the university policies regarding COVID-19 don't really apply. There's no need for you to wear a mask while you're watching my class, and just be careful as you go about, and let me know if there's anything that comes up that really, in advance, let me know if there's anything that comes up that would require some sort of special dispensation in terms of completing your assignments. So let's get started jumping into looking at the syllabus for Christianity and Ethics. Now, as you look at the syllabus, it's got a course description, learning objectives, and further on down the required materials. The course description is that it includes a comparison of ethics from a Christocentric perspective and a philosophical perspective. The relationship between Christian thought and Western philosophical traditions with regard to classical and contemporary moral issues, and the reaction to current political and social issues will be examined to explore matters of faith and morality. And so we're going to be talking about the tough questions here of how you decide what is ethical or unethical, or right or wrong. And what's the basis by which you say that? By what standard do you arrive at something being good or bad, right or wrong, ethical or unethical? And what's the standard? What's the framework? What's the jumping off point that you use to arrive at there? So we'll be discussing some of those hard questions and even talking about current topics that people find considerably either a settled issue, but in the religious community, sometimes not so much a settled issue, and that debate continues even to this day. So the learning outcomes, you can read those. The required course materials, well, first of all, there's Philip Wogeman, Christianity and Christian Ethics, a Historic Introduction. So in your required materials, pay attention to the year and edition for those. You don't want to get the wrong book and therefore not be able to answer essay questions very well. Then there's Basic Christian Ethics by Paul Ramsey. Again, pay attention to the year and edition for those. And also, lastly, there's What We Can't Not Know, a guide by J. Budiseski. And these books are used to, kind of help offers the tools for how we arrive, not only just describing ethics from a Christian perspective and the influence of Christian thought upon Western ethics, but also they offers the tools to start diving into some of the contemporary issues that we have. Like, for example, people say, well, isn't love and compassion a Christian value that you could apply to certain issues? Okay, fine. But love is such a nebulous term. People say, well, I'm motivated by Christian love. Well, Ramsey talks about this, but the problem is that what do you mean when you say you're motivated by Christian love? Who gets to define love? Do you define love? Are you being loving when you do something for somebody, or when you regard someone in a certain way? Or is that self-defined, or is that theocentrically defined? Is that defined by you, or is it defined by sacred literature? Is it defined by God, or is it defined by society? And someone could say they're being loving, and another person say, no, that's being harmful. So these are things that we want to explore as what we mean, or how do we arrive at your ethical and moral compass. So everyone thinks that's something that typically everyone thinks they've settled until someone starts asking, well, by what standard do you arrive at that? And if it's not going to be a religious foundation for that, well, then you need to explain why you do have the perspective that you do, and why do you declare something ethical, unethical, right, or wrong. So now the course requirements. Let's move on down the syllabus a little bit. There are 5 assignments for this class. There are 2 of those are interaction assignments where you interact with your classmates over a specific topic. 2 of those are essay exams, and 1 of them is the final paper. Well, and then they're progressively weighted. They're weighted progressively in the order, by importance. So if you think about how this all adds up to 100 points for your, sorry for a second. Jeez. If you think about how this all adds up to your points total for the course, each is worth points that would add up to 100. So each of the interaction assignments is worth 10 points. Each of the essay exams is worth 25 points, and the final paper is worth 30 points. So it's weighted the heaviest. All this class should be leading up to your awesome final paper, in which you use the tools that you've gleaned throughout the course in order to write a very good final paper that touches on a topic that we can pre-approve or talk about as we go. So in the course requirements, it's more important to have access to internet, and then to be able to engage all the assignments. Now, in the course requirements, we talk about the readings. Each of these textbooks will read in order that you see them listed in the syllabus, and read them in total. Then, and that the reading that you did of those books will be tested by using essay exams. And the essay exam is basically I'll be giving a list of essay questions, and for each of those questions, you write a short essay answer. It's not one big long essay. It's a short essay per answer. So like question number 1, you write a page at least, and then for number 2, you write a page at least, and so forth. And all of those are going to be basically you describing the material from the reading back to me in your own words. So this is basically the essay exams are basically keeping everybody honest to show that you did the reading. Your own original work is going to come out in the final paper. And the final paper, it has to be 3,000 words, which is roughly 10 pages or more. 3,000 words, written in good format with good grammar, MLA style. I have some specific things here about what to cite, what not to cite, and so forth. I'll let you read that in the syllabus. The course policies, we talk about how each assignment's weighted, and also how the grading will occur. Now, as you get further down, it says course schedule. There are 2 tables. One says significant dates, and the other one says breakdown by week. The significant dates are there's 6 Thursdays here, and the first Thursday is this week. We're giving the course introduction and talking about the syllabus and basically starting our time together. Nothing's due this week, but the rest of them the rest of those dates are all significant dates, in which Thursday, September 17th, Thursday, October 8th, Thursday, October 29th, Thursday, November 19th, and Thursday, December 3rd. These are all due dates. Now, what I mean by due date is these are hard deadlines, when you have to complete something by 11:59 p.m. that night. So there's no extension given. There's no grace period. There's no if you try to finish the assignment at 12 midnight. Oh, the link has gone dark. You have no more opportunity. 11:59 that night is when these all have to be done. So the first interaction assignment, you'll have a week to do that, and it has to be done by that night of September 17th. For the essay exams, I offer the exam questions a week in advance. You have a week to write out your essay exam paper and upload your document by 11:59 October 8th. And so on and so forth, all the way down to your final paper, which is due by 11:59 p.m. on December 3rd. So those are the significant dates. But as we go down and broken down by week, there's a subject index of how you can expect this class to progress in terms of the topics we'll cover, but also with a reading schedule. So the reading schedule is basically how you can keep on track as you go. So starting with Wogamon, then going on to Ramsey, and then Bodashevsky by the end. This is the idea to keep pace with the class, to keep up with the reading, so that you're not having to scramble and do all that reading all at once at the last minute. So scrolling further down the syllabus, you see some information that is mandatory language that goes into our syllabus, like plagiarism, regarding plagiarism. The statement on caps. Whoops, I accidentally put that in there twice. That's okay. COVID-19 precautions, recording classes, don't do it, but also syllabus changes. Syllabus Changes says, due to the changing nature of COVID-19 pandemic, please note that the instructor may need to make modifications to the course syllabus and may do so at any time. Notice of such changes will be announced as quickly as possible, though. Now, I make, my commitment to you is that if there's any changes that need to be made to the syllabus in terms of required work, I'll give you plenty of notice for that. Plenty of notice for that. So I don't anticipate any changes to the amount of required work or when the deadlines for those will be. However, there may be changes in terms of, as I experiment and try new things for the class, try new assignments or new learning assessments with different types of exercises or feedback or different projects you can do. I may offer different ways for you to engage in projects or assignments that you may prefer, that you may like more than the required ones. If I do that, though, those will all be extra credit. They're not required. Everything that will be required of you is on the syllabus. So you really only have to do what's required and what exists on the syllabus. And a lot of people get A's in this course by doing that. But if I do something extra, if I do something beyond what you see in the syllabus, and I kind of, in football terms, call an audible and say, here's another opportunity, that will always be extra credit. Two things. One, that helps me know what type of assignments people prefer, and people engage that, and it allows you to think about the material in different ways. But so that you might like that even more. But two, by making it extra credit, sometimes you can engage those other opportunities, those other types of assignments, and build up points that make any one required assignment less consequential. Sometimes people will bomb an essay exam and go, oh my gosh, that did not work out. But they did all the extra credit that I offered, and therefore their life was fine. So just want to let you know, if there's any major or any new things that I throw things out that are not in the syllabus right now, I typically will make those extra credit. If anything's above and beyond what you see in the syllabus, it will be extra credit, and you may enjoy it. Some people do that in order to shore up to strengthen their grade. I mean, out of a possible 100 points, it's not uncommon for for students to get at the end of the semester, out of a possible 100 points, they got 115. When people do that, I really regret that the college doesn't offer an A+ grade anymore, because they really deserve it. So, but that's how we go. So the required assignments are always what they are. They're hard deadlines, but sometimes extra credit opportunities arise where people can shore up their grade or do something extra if they really are getting into the course. Down at the very end, it says points of emphasis. Absolutely no late papers will be accepted. All papers must be turned in using Turnitin or Blackboard. No email papers will be graded. Well, that's absolutely true. When you turn in assignments like your essay exams and your final paper, those have to be turned in using the Turnitin link on Blackboard, which means it has to be turned in by 11:59 p.m. on the due date. Otherwise, the link goes dark and you get 0 for that grade. I don't want that to happen to anybody. You typically have an entire week to turn it in, so don't... Deadlines in the real world do exist, and there are all sorts of different instances where things have a certain cutoff point and there's no grace period beyond that. And to that extent, sometimes I do think college classes need to reflect the real world, at least in some respect. Now, if you have something to come up related to COVID-19 or an emergency or something else, make sure that you're in communication with me in case you need a special dispensation in advance. Make sure that you're in dialogue or communicating with me about that before the deadline comes up. But typically, if someone says at 12:05, oops, my dog ate my internet, please let me accept my email paper. No, I typically don't do that. In fact, I can be pretty Darth Vader about it. So as much as there is grace in the rest of the class with regard to those hard deadlines, I can be pretty legalistic. So anyway, that's the syllabus, and that's some details about the syllabus. In the brief time I have remaining, what I want to talk about a little bit is there's going to be more instructions. This one short video is not the end-all be-all of explaining the beginning of the class. There will be more explanations as assignments come up, particularly like your interactions assignments, which is, you see the dates for those in a few weeks. The essay exam assignments, and especially the final paper, which we're leading up to write a whiz-bang final paper for the end of the course. So all sorts of instructions are going to continue to come at as the course unfolds. My teaching style is I use short video clips like this to introduce a topic. I write more about it in your Blackboard messaging platform. So you'll want to read that often to see what I've added there. So I have short video lecture, I have written lecture, but also I use media and I use media sections and different films and other things that all come together to kind of help you fully engulf you in the subject matter we're discussing. Primarily, make sure you've started already on the Wogamon book, which is the first book we're reading. So dive into that right away. And then we're going to talk about some of the first subjects, starting with by what standard do you declare something good or bad, right or wrong, ethical, unethical? You have to have a framework. And the Christian response to that has been and varied over the centuries. So you have 2,000 years of church history that where Christianity has tried to address this through different writings throughout the past, and Wogamon talks about that. But in many cases, people of faith even now will flat out admit, well, I get this because of, in their mind, God says so. Well, that can be a cop-out, and that can be a very easy way to summarize a person's ethical and a moral jumping off point, their moral launching pad. And as a result, it can be very unsatisfying for someone just to say, well, God said so. It's much more complicated than that. And because that can be stated so simplistically, and well, because that can be stated too simplistically, God says so, because that can be stated too simplistically, it's often dismissed by many as being unlegitimate. Well, we want to rethink that though. If in faith circles at all, there is a legitimacy for someone to saying, well, based upon my epistemology of Revelation, there is this assumption that sacred texts say things about the human condition that the humans by themselves can't arrive at. Humans by themselves can't achieve that level of insight. So therefore, a divine opinion is necessary about human morality. That's a mouthful, but we want to explore that. And we'll even get into the point of whether or not it's even necessary to have a divine opinion about human morality, or if these things can all be, or if morality and ethics can be just all constructed on our own by observing the natural world. We'll get into philosophers who promote the idea of natural law. Well, is that a genuine method of looking at ethics and morality, natural law? Is that possible? Is that ethical? I mean, well, is that a legitimate approach? By what standard do you declare a thing good or bad, right or wrong, ethical or unethical, and virtue, a vice or virtue, based upon how you approach the world? What is your standard by arriving at that? And one of the most frustrating questions that you should pose to yourself all the time is, by what standard do I arrive at saying that I either follow a certain code for my own life or expect that others would follow it for theirs either? All right? We're going to get more into this. I don't really like talking to a camera, and so therefore my video clips tend to be pretty short, and I write even more and with more frequent messaging. But first things first, dive into Wogamon, think about, and in the future we're going to be talking about ideas already even now, what you possibly would like to explore and write on by the end of the course. All right? So good to have you all here. We're going to have a good time.